Growing up, I always looked forward to summer vacation. My family and I would fly to Morelia, Michoacán, where I enjoyed spending my careless summers hearing the rain pour, while my grandmother, Eloisa, would tell me stories about her childhood. She would also tell me about my mother and her siblings and all the mischief they would get into. As I got older, I went to college and I couldn't visit as often. I started to miss Mexico and my grandmother and my aunts that lived with her. I began creating family portraits on textiles, trying to reconstruct the memories of my family. I dyed fabric in hopes of feeling connected to my heritage. During graduate school, I experienced personal hardships and loss in my family, and that started to seep into my portrait work. I began to explore family dynamics and how they change over time through the use of a figurative narrative. Most of my works are made by a variety of printmaking techniques, and all of my work is photo-based to incorporate the idea of a particular moment in time. The idea of memory and how it fades over the years always finds itself present in my prints. The use of color, or lack thereof, is also important in my work. It is not only done for aesthetic reasons, but it is also meant to convey loss, melancholy, and decline. Over time, I started incorporating floral images that represented my family. I had strong connections with the amapola flower because my father would always plant them in our backyards, ensuring that every April our garden would be full of beautiful, bright pink flowers. We only moved a few times in my childhood, but my father always brought seeds with him to each house to continue planting the amapolas. We always had a great time in our backyards listening to my father tell us stories about his beautiful mother and her garden in Jalisco, Mexico. Snapdragons also started making their way into my work. My tia Vero, who lived in Mexico, got sick when I was very young, and for nearly 30 years I saw her in a vegetative state. When I would visit my tia Vero and my grandmother in Morelia, my grandmother would tell me stories of when my tia Vero was young and healthy. She loved writing letters to her friends and drew little snapdragons on the envelopes she would mail. My tia Vero passed when I was finishing up graduate school, and the pain was so great that all I could do in my studio was print and paint snapdragons. I grew angry at the fact that such a small worm that was found in uncooked pork could bring so much pain to my family. I started researching trichinosis and what the parasite looked like. Eventually, this also made its way into a series I created in honor of my tia. My latest series of prints represents a void that was recently created in my life. They are a combination of old prints and new drawings collaged together. I was taking the past and meshing it with the present to create a new future. Even though things could never go back to how it used to be, life still went on and it could be beautiful. These prints made me realize I can find beauty in the painful void. Art has made me realize I can gain resilience just like my ancestors before me. By sharing these works, my hope is that the viewer can also find hope in their loss.